So welcome. This is the What is Human Design webinar. I just want to start by acknowledging that this isn't intended to offer any medical advice, any psychological advice. I really just want to talk to you guys today about energy, how you are an energetic being, how that interacts with the world around you, and how the world in return reacts with you. It is so fantastic when we can take a look at our energetic systems as a bigger communication system than just this physical body. So what is human design? Human design is such a blend of so many different modalities. It is a really deep system. So it takes in the ancient aspects of astrology, the Hindu chakra system, the Judaic Kabbalah, the Chinese I Ching, and then it's merging them together with some of the more modern day quantum physics, biochemistry, and genetics. So we are so lucky that we live in this time frame where we have all of this access to technology. They can pull all the knowledge from all of these different systems. They can build them into these software programs, then use your birth information, and they can create for you what is known as your Bodygraph. So everybody has an opportunity to enter in their birth information using their exact time of birth, or when that's not known, a really close approximation to the time. And what happens is you're all given this generated body graph that uses two forms of data. So you have 26 activations within your body graph, and those are shown as little purple circles all over your chart. Those are known as activated gates. Then you're going to have some black lines, you're going to have some red lines, you're going to have some checkered lines. Now those all mean different aspects. It relates to whether something is conscious for you or unconscious, or in the case of having those checkered lines, that's a combination of both. Sometimes you're aware of it, sometimes you're not. But how was that created? We're going to take a look at those 13 conscious activations, and those are stemming from your exact moment of birth. So it doesn't matter if you're premature, it doesn't matter if you're overdue, it doesn't matter if you're born by C-section. From the moment you enter into the world, they take a look at where the planets were in alignment. So all of these fancy symbols on the side of your chart, those talk about the planets. We have the sun, the moon, the north node, the south node, and various other planets. So those all pull into the data, those give you those black lines, and that speaks to your personality. So these are things about yourself that you will likely recognize. And as we go through each one of the 9 centers today, you're going to hear things and you're going to feel like, oh yeah, I kind of resonate that within myself. Those are things that I'm aware of, I'm conscious of them. And then you have another 13 unconscious activations, and that is pulled by going back 88 degrees of solar movement prior to your date of birth, or about 3 months. Again, it takes a look at where the planets were in alignment. It pulls those into your chart. It creates all of those red lines, which are your design. So your design is your full potential. It is who you are meant to be, things that are in your unconscious awareness. But a lot of times when we asked your close family members or friends, they would say, oh yeah, I absolutely can recognize those character traits about you. I can see you reaching that full potential. I believe that to be a truth for you. So that is the short version of how this is created. Of course, it goes into a lot more depth. There's different lines, there's different gates activation, but that is for more advanced human design. So today I really just want to talk about energy, and we are all these energetic beings. We are so much more than just this physical body. So we all have what is known as an aura. It extends quite far out from our being, and that aura is constantly communicating with the world around you and pulling information back into yourself so that you can learn, you can gain the knowledge, and you can become really adaptable to your environment. So you can think of energy in terms of emotions. We are big feeling beings. There's a lot of emotions out in the world. We feel them, we sense them. I imagine a lot of you have probably walked into a room and have noticed that, you know, there must have been an argument going on, something was happening, because you can just feel it. No words have been said, you can't see it, but your body knows on that energetic level. There's a lot of science behind human design, and I'm always brought back to, I think it's the grade 5 science class. And they teach you that, you know, the desk in front of you, your computer screen, your chair, they are not solid. They are atoms and molecules moving so quickly together as to appear solid, to feel solid, but they are energy. So it's hard for the mind to understand that, but yet we know it is scientifically proven. So human design asks us to have a lot of faith, to trust in the concepts of energy, to trust in things that we cannot see with the physical eye, but we can feel on such a deep level within our bodies. So in human design, there are 5 categories, but there are 4 energy types. We have one type known as a projector, and that is just under 23% of the world's population. Then we have another category that combines the generators and manifesting generators, and that is just under 67% of the population. We have a group called manifestors. They are just under 10% of the population. And we have a small group called reflectors that is just under 2% of the population. Now we're going to talk a little bit more about what each one of those energy types mean. And my deepest passion with human design is for children to be raised in a world where they can truly be themselves. So when we start to learn about our unique design, we learn about our energy, we're going to learn that we all have different ways of communicating, responding, and receiving information. And the more that we can learn about ourselves and then learn about others, well, then we can have these beautiful, rich relationships that truly honor the aspects of each other, instead of trying to put everybody into the same box, into the same category, where that just doesn't work for many, many people. Because we all have different attributes, we're all meant to express ourselves, that energy needs to expand, and things just need to grow. So let's take a look at those different energy types in a little bit more detail. And I want to start with those projectors. So if you take a look at that energy around a projector, it is literally like a tractor beam focusing in on the object in front of it, the people in front of it, and it is pulling all that energy back into self. So what it's doing is it's really tasting the energy, it's feeling the emotions, it's learning fully about the other individual. So projectors are here to be guides. They're meant to bring all that information into them so that they can really learn about the other person. They can understand where that person is at, and they can get some awareness as to where they can help guide them. Now, it is really important for projectors to use their strategy of wait to be invited. And this is because when you are so focused on the other energy and pulling all of that into your being, that energy is your fuel. So if you're not around the right kind of people, you are going to be filled up on things that are just going to deplete your energy. If that person is not open to your guidance, they're not ready for your guidance, you're going to spend a lot of time helping them, giving them your energy, but that is going to drain you because they're just not ready to follow. So when you use that strategy of wait to be invited, then you are waiting for those people to be open to your guidance, to be open to your help, and then you're going to feel that satisfaction that comes with being recognized for your contribution, recognized for who you are, and all of those things of value that you can bring into the world as a guide. So it's a beautiful, beautiful energetic system, but really important to be aware of how much of the other person you are feeling within your own body. Then we move over to our largest group, and that combines those generators and manifesting generators. So the energy type is the same. It's called warm and enveloping. It's just this radiating energy that comes out from your being. It's out there and it's tasting and communicating with the other energy types, learning about the environment, feeling the environment, bringing that back into self to get information. Now you're also wide open so that others can come into your energy and they can sample you. They can learn about who you are. So it's constantly communicating, it's constantly in motion, and it's just this beautiful energy that is resonating out in the world. Now there is a difference between a pure generator and a manifesting generator. So I want to talk a little bit about pure generators, especially as it relates to children. Of course, this applies to adults as well. But a pure generator has a lot of energy. And because they have a lot of energy, they need to do activities that is going to completely exhaust through that energy before they can go to sleep, before their bodies can shut down. So a lot of times we have children that they seem to be hyper, they seem to be overactive, but what they really just need is opportunities to burn off that fuel, burn off that energy so that then they can shut down, they can recharge, and then they can start their days again. So don't worry if you have a child that seems to have a little bit more energy. Finding out about their energy type is going to help you understand what they need, help you to work with that type, and create scenarios within your own home to honor their design while also allowing you the freedom to relax and to honor yours as well. Now, manifesting generators, they have a little bit of a different energetic system in that until they are starting to do an activity, so they're manifesting, they're putting something into action, they are just not going to know if that is right for them or not. So there has to be an opportunity to allow them to quit. And that is a really hard concept to grasp because we're raised in a society that teaches us when you commit to something, you have to stay to it. You can't quit, you can't give up. That is called a failure. Now that is called mind conditioning. So knowing about your energy type, knowing if you're a manifesting generator that your body is just not going to tell you, it's not going to communicate to you until you start trying things and you do it for a little while to really get a sense of that energy and motion. Only then are you going to know if that's right for you. So for children that are manifesting generators, know that they are going to change their mind, and that is absolutely correct for them. So creating some situations where they can try out a new activity for a little while and then make a decision is going to be key to their design. It's going to honor who they are, and it's going to alleviate some of those feelings of feeling like a failure, feeling like you let somebody down, because you just know that that's my type, and I'm going to honor that I'm going to need a little bit of time to feel things out. Now, the strategy for generators and manifesting generators is wait to respond. And what that means is you're really allowing your body an opportunity to pull in that activity, to pull in that request to be of service, to feel it within yourself, and then to respond back outwards. Now, you guys have a beautiful sacral center that is one of the 9 energy centers within the Bodygraph. We're going to talk a little bit more in depth about the noises that your body's going to make to trigger that response. So we will come back and talk a little bit more about that. Next, we have another energy type called a manifestor. A manifestor's aura is called closed and repelling. Now, I am of a manifestor type myself. When I first heard those words in human design, I went, oh my goodness, I am not closed and repelling. That is not who I am. Again, it's the reminder to us all that this is about energy. This is not about us personally. That energy type of closed and repelling, that is a protective shield. It is dense. It is allowing that energy to push through the other energy types, because a manifestor is here to take action. It is a very independent energy. It can get the nudge to do something. It knows how to do it, so it just goes ahead and it does it. Now, because it doesn't typically need anybody else to help it move into that manifestation process, it is so important to use that strategy to inform others before taking action. So what happens is this becomes a form of respect. This allows the other energy types to be aware of what you're doing instead of being left confused as to, what is she doing now? What is he doing now? Oh my goodness, what is going on? Because things can happen so fast for a manifestor that they often don't stop to pause to think of what everybody else might be perceiving about that energy type. Now, another thing to learn and to know is that because that energy field is so dense, the other energy types are not getting into it. So it took me a long time to realize that, walking out in public, interacting with others, sometimes you leave them confused, and you can kind of get these looks as to, something is off. There might be a tendency to make other people feel a little bit more awkward. Now, again, this is not personal. What is happening is that energy is trying to get in and it's bouncing back off of this shield. So it's not able to feel, to sense, and to get to know. So it goes back to the owner, the recipient, and it doesn't have any information. So they're a little bit caught off guard. So again, that is where the manifestor can inform. It can inform others by a warm smile, an openness. It can let down some of that wall if it feels right to let the others in. Again, it is there because there's limited energy stores inside. So it's important to know that that is the right place for you to let others in or when to not. Now, for a child manifestor, these are the kind of children that are going to think that they want to go play with their friend. Their friend lives down the street. So in a manifestor child's mind, it's okay, I'm going to go play with my friend. I know how to open the front door. I open the front door. I go down the street. I'm at my friend's house. Not once are they going to stop to think, maybe I should ask before I go. So for manifestor children, it is so important to teach them to ask before they take action, and then to honor their design by creating boundaries that feel right for you. They work within your family to give them their freedom, but to set those perimeters of safety. So what you're doing is you're allowing them to be free to do things when they need to do them. They're asking you for permission, and then they know to stay inside the perimeters that you have set for them. Next, we move over to the last type, and those are reflectors. Now, those reflectors are just under 2% of the population. Their energy type is almost like that Teflon coating in cookware. So that really smooth coating, it's allowing the other energy types to come in, but only a little bit of it is coming in. And the reason why that happens is they have nothing colored in their charts. They are wide open. So they are feeling everything, and they're really here to learn about their world, about other people. So they just have a little bit of the energies coming in so that they can get a sense of things without overwhelming their entire system. Now for reflectors, they actually have a strategy where they have to wait and put all of their major decisions against each one of the phases of the moon. So they're looking at a full 28-day cycle to see how their decision applies based on the different alignments of the moon cycle and checking in with their bodies. So for this type, it is so essential that they are in the right environment. Again, they're bringing all of that stuff around them into their body to fuel up. So the right environment is key for them. The right people are key for them. Having those in their lives that can really act as guides, and they can support them. They can help them with their decision-making process is going to be so key. Now, I was so fortunate that when I did my Living Your Design certification, I was in my course with another reflector. So the potential of this design is absolutely amazing. All of that openness, all of that ability to feel, when you learn what is not yours and you're able to clear that out of your body, you have an incredible amount of wisdom to be gained about others. And what a phenomenal guide you can be when you recognize that much wisdom within yourself. So where do we even start with human design? It starts with knowing about your type, your strategy, and your authority. So those are all found for you within your human design chart. There's a link in this webinar if you haven't run yours, where you can go ahead and you can calculate a chart for yourself. You can calculate charts for your family members and anybody else within your immediate environment that you might just be curious about. But we're just focusing on those three main components. So today in this webinar, we're looking at the 9 centers, and really all we're doing is taking a look at which ones do you have colored in, which ones do you have white. Now for anything that you have in that white, I want you to consider that as a sponge. So if you were to take a sponge and you were to start cleaning your environment, you would be picking up all sorts of different things. Over time, that sponge would be getting heavier and heavier and heavier, and it would have this accumulation of gunk within your body. So it is really important to learn that when you have that openness, the most important thing for you is that you are going to be picking up on the world around you. You are going to be picking up on other people. And it's really important to learn how to squeeze out that sponge, how to release that energy, how to center back into just being yourself and clearing away everything that doesn't belong to you. So we're going to start right off the bat by jumping into the solar plex that is down near the bottom of your chart. And this is an awareness center. Now, this is emotional awareness, emotional energy, and there is so much of it out in the world. There is so much within our own bodies. So we have half the population that has it colored in, half the population has that wide open. So for those of you that have it colored in on your chart, this is your authority. This is your guidance system. You are known to be of emotional authority. So what that means is that in that not self state, in a conditioned state, you are making really impulsive decisions, and that puts a lot of pressure on other people. So what's happening, you can actually picture that as a wave. Your body is constantly in motion like this. So you're going to have times where you're feeling really, really good. You're on top of the world. You got lots of energy. People ask you to do things and you're like, yeah, absolutely, I can do that. I want to go there. I'm committing to that project. You might feel the need to do some shopping. You're buying a lot of things. And then all of a sudden you start coming down a little bit. And you come down to a point where you realize, oh my goodness, I don't have the energy to honor all those commitments. I don't need all those things that I just purchased. What was I thinking? And then sometimes we go down even further and we're down a little bit in the dumps. So when people ask us to do things in those moments, we may instantly say no. And then again, when we come back up, we might think, you know, I wish I would have said yes. I wish I would have jumped on that opportunity. I regret that decision. So this is a normal process. If you are colored in, we are constantly going to be riding this wave. It is really important to understand that that is just a part of life. It's not going away. Sometimes it's going to be like this and big crashes down. It is what it is. So what we want to do is try to find that place of balance. Before you make any decisions, try to find the equilibrium, try to find the calm, that neutrality. And that's not at 100%. That's feeling about 70% certain. So you're checking in with your body to see, how do I feel? And then for projectors, you know, they're checking in with that emotional energy. Do I want to accept that invitation? Do I feel like I'm stable enough to accept it? For generators and manifesting generators, they're waiting to respond. They're checking in to see that emotional level. Manifestors are waiting to inform others based on how they're feeling, based if they have the energy to do something or not to do something. So you're really feeling your feelings. Now, if you have that white on your chart, if you are open, you are acting as an amplifier at 200%, projecting out that emotional energy to the rest of the world. So you guys are feeling on a deep, deep level. You are going to notice when you're around somebody else and they're going through a wave. You're going to feel it really intensely in your body. So there's a beautiful opportunity to learn about where others are emotionally, to get the knowledge to see if you want to help, do you want to be of service, do you want to avoid that situation, do you want to just hold space? Again, it's trusting in what's right for you and your body. Now, the thing to really watch in the center, especially with children, is that a lot of times, because you're feeling on such a deep level, that these are the individuals that like to play nice. They want to keep the peace. They want everything to be calm around them. So if somebody asks them if they're okay, they lie and they say they are. They don't want to face confrontation. They don't want to create any waves. And what's going on with them on an energetic level is they are feeling things so deeply. So if they were to tell somebody how they really feels, they actually have to relive that experience, re-feel it in order to speak it. So teaching these children to do things such as journaling, drawing, things that they can do to release that energy that is going to be gentle on their systems, but teaching them to not hold that in, because that will suppress it down. That's going to be like that sponge where it just gets so full of toxicity. It shuts the individual down. It stops you from being you. It stops you from really enjoying life. So when you learn to wring that out, to do those things that bring you into balance, then you can be very emotionally quiet. You can be very calm with yourself, very sure of yourself. These individuals are so great at being empathetic. So holding space for others, being compassionate, knowing that they're not here to fix anybody, save anybody. They're just here to be aware of what the other's feeling, to decide for themselves if they want to do anything, or to just know that, you know what, as an energetic being, the more I feel calm, the more I feel joy, the more I can hold on to my own positivity, put that out into my auric field, the more those other individuals are feeding off of my energy. There is so much power in projecting out one's truth to feed the world instead of amplifying out what is not your truth. So that is a very, very powerful center in all of our designs. Now we're going to move over to that sacral authority. So that is the square in your body graph. Anybody who is a manifesting generator or a generator, you automatically have this defined in your chart. All of the other energy types do not have this. So around 70% of the population, you have this defined. Now what that is for you is that's your beautiful life force energy. This is what is creating your aura. It's making it warm and enveloping, it's pulsing it out into the world. You guys are designed to work. You're designed to raise children, support communities, do all of those things that really keep the world functioning as a whole. So it's a very, very powerful energy center to give you that constant fuel to carry out those activities. Now, just because you guys are designed to work does not mean that you're designed to be a slave. And that is where your strategy of waiting to respond is so essential. So you guys are allowing somebody to ask you if you want to do something. You are pulling that into your body and you're listening for your body to respond with noises. So this is where you get those, if you want to do something, and you're leaning in, it feels good. You're leaning towards that opportunity. If somebody says something to you that you don't like, it's You're leaning back. Again, you're making those sounds. You don't know, but it's a very primal noise. It doesn't require any words. Your body has its own way of communicating to you. So the more that you can play with those sounds, the stronger it's going to get for you. If you have children of these type, allow them to acknowledge their sounds, to be aware of their sounds. We're all raised to speak and use your words, and that is so important to be able to function out in society, to communicate clearly, but don't shut down those primal noises. That is their essential guidance system to help them know for themselves if something is right, if something is wrong, or if they just need some time to consider. Now, this is a beautiful center because there's so many out in the world that make these noises that you can start to experiment and you can really start to listen to how others in your environment are communicating. We often say things, but our body language and those noises, they give us the truth of what is really being said. So you can get to know somebody on a really deep level by listening to the noises they make. Now for the other energy types, that is white in your chart. This is about 30% of the population. When you are in that condition, that not self state, you are trying to be like the generators and manifesting generators of the world. You are trying to do as much as they can. You're trying to get as much accomplished as they can. You end up working yourself to the point of exhaustion, and that can lead to illness. So it's important to know that there is nothing wrong with you. Your energy type is different. It just doesn't have that constant fuel that everybody else has. So it's really essential for you to allow yourself time to recover, to fill yourself up with your own energy, and to get out of the other sacral energies. So that's sacral energies to us that don't have that defined. It is literally like a generator in a steamship. The world is just like this hum, this bzzz. It's constantly buzzing. So for children in that environment, they're going to feel hyper and or they're going to feel overwhelmed because it's just too much to process. So taking that time away, taking that time to be still, taking that time to be in self, to let go of that energy, and then to fill up on your own. So those energy types are really here to be more of a specialist. You're here to kind of create those foundations, those projects, and then hand it over to the manifesting generators to run with it, to do all those essential components to keep it going. Again, honoring both different energy types, multiple energy types, but coexisting as a species. So now we're going to go ahead, we're going to jump over to the other side. We're going to take a look at the splenic center. This is another awareness center, and this is actually your fight or flight response. So this is an ancient awareness center. You can think of the animals out in nature where they just know. They know whether they're going to flee or whether they're going to fight. It is purely instinctual. So for those that have that colored in, you are here to really trust in your gut feelings, those intuitions and those hunches. So oftentimes you are going to just know. You're going to know to go in a certain direction. You're going to know if something is right for you. You're going to get these moments of inspiration. It is important that you listen to those before this mind tries to jump in and second guess everything, because the mind wants to do that. The mind is purely conditioned. It tells you what to believe, how to act, what people think, who you should be. We don't want to listen to the mind talk. We want to learn to trust in this body. So the more that you listen in those moments of inspiration and you trust it, the stronger that voice is going to get for you. Now, again, super important to make sure that emotionally you are neutral. So the more calm you are in your body, the more you're going to hear that guidance system, the more you're going to be able to really trust it. Now, you guys also have this beautiful energy in this center. It is giving you a sense of well-being to others. You can think of yourself as this giant teddy bear that just feels good. Everybody wants to be in your presence because that energy of that center is just resonating a feel-good feeling. Now, you're normally going to feel good within yourself. You're not always going to notice that you are sick until all of a sudden, boom, you are sick. So it's important to make sure you're taking good care of yourself. You're eating properly, you're exercising, you're getting your rest. Now, for those of us who are opened, you're white in that center, very important to know that that area holds on to things like nothing else. It can be deeply, deeply possessive. So this is where we get situations of holding on to jobs that are not good for us, staying with people who are not good for us, staying in environments that are not good for us. And what is happening at an energetic level is that is the center of fear. So if you think of it in terms of there's a fear of change, there's a fear of letting go, there's a fear of not being enough. There are so many different fears out in the world. So that center holds on to things because it is feeling the fear. It is feeling others, it is feeling their own, it is feeling things that may be back to that instinctual, that primary, that animal fight or flight response, and not so much relevant in today's world. So the wisdom in that center is learning to question, whose fear is this? Is it mine or does it belong to somebody else? They can confront the fears when it's appropriate to do so. So pushing through that energy to get to the other side to prove to themselves that, what, I can do that. That wasn't mine to hold on to. That's not the me of today. That is something I can let go of. Now I'm wiser. Now I'm stronger. Now I'm more confident in trusting in myself. Now, these individuals also know their health. They know their state of being. They know how they're feeling. And they intuitively know how other people are feeling. So if you have that center defined and others in your home are open and they're questioning you, asking you if you're feeling okay, you should probably pay attention to what they're asking you because they are picking up on something that you may just not be aware of. So again, this is a beautiful example how our designs can all complement and help each other, how they just feed in and how they can be of service. So we're moving up now to that little heart center. It's the tiniest center on your body graph. This is another energy center. This is the center of ego and willpower. So there's only about 35% of the population that has that defined in their chart. These individuals are really here to know about money, to know about resources, to know about communities. They are really good at allocating resources so that it's fair for the majority. They are just here to look at things on a bigger picture, a more collective, more tribal picture. Now, in a conditioned state, in a not self state, these are the individuals that will come into a room. They're going to be really pumped up. They're going to be, I'm Mr. Right, I'm Mrs. Right, I'm in charge, don't question me, I'm in control, I have all the answers. So that is an inflated sense of ego. That is a not self. Now, it's also important to know that when you have that centered colored in your chart, you are someone who is true to their word. You can keep a promise and you will honor it 100%. Now, the problem with that is the other 65% of the population that has that open, we should never make a promise. And the reason we should never make a promise is because we don't know if we're going to have the energy in the form of willpower an hour from now, a day from now, a week from now, to honor that commitment. So what happens is it becomes this vicious cycle of somebody making a promise and expecting another to keep it and then being disappointed, and the other one who made the promise feeling like a failure because they forgot or they couldn't honor it. So it's just this vicious cycle of unmet expectations. So again, when we learn about the energy, we learn about the differences in others, then we can understand why. It's not a personal attack on you. It's a true inability to make that promise. So we start to learn different ways of doing things. If you have a defined heart center, it is absolutely appropriate for you to make promises, knowing you're going to honor them and that's going to feel good for you. But for those of us that are open, you're white, we should never make promises. You want to use language such as, I will try my best, I will see, I will get back to you. Then you can start to fill yourself up with more healthier energy, being true to yourself and honoring your design. Now, if that center is white on your chart, it's also really important to acknowledge that as that sponge, this is where you're going to accumulate all of those feelings of low self-esteem, low self-worth, low value. Because again, you're picking up things from the world, you're picking things up from society, you're picking up things from other people, you're hearing that mind talk that others have placed upon you. It is being stored in that center until you become aware and until you can wring that energy out and let it go, acknowledging that that is not the you of today, that is not who you are, that is not your value system. So really important to pay attention to see, are you trying to overcompensate? Are you giving way too much? Do you think that you have to prove yourself? Acknowledging that you're not here to prove. You are enough who you are. You have everything that you need to be. You are uniquely you. So really paying attention to that heart center in children, in yourself, knowing that that could be a bit of an issue. That is something to really pay attention to. I have a complete open heart center in my design, and I have learned over the years in my healing journey and my deconditioning that one of the best things that I can do here is to literally place my hand on my heart, to check in with myself, to use my breath, and to ask, what do I need? In this moment, what do I need? And it can be as simple as something like a cup of tea and a chance to sit and have a break, a chance to be in the own energy, to be still, to really figure things out for self, to come home to you. So always using your strategy and your authority to make your decisions and watching that conditioning that can be picked up in that center. We're now moving up to that diamond that is right in the middle of the body graph. That is your center of self, or the G center. And this is all about your identity, the direction, and the love. Now, 46% of the population will have that colored in. What that means is you have, again, a consistent energy that really helps you to know for yourself where you want to go. This might be the individual that has a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan, or just kind of knows that they want to go in a certain direction. You also have a pretty good idea about yourself, about who you are, your values, the person you are, the character you are, and you may not always realize it, but for the most part, it is consistent for you. So because that is defined, we are here to help guide others towards the direction that is right for them, towards figuring out who they are. It is not meant to be here to tell other people what to do. So again, that's a conditioned energy that becomes bossy, that tries to play that matchmaker. Those are not things that are healthy. In our own energies, we are here to realize for ourselves where we want to go, who we want to be, and what resonates with us. Nobody else can tell you except for yourself what is right for you. So when you become a guide, when you become wise, then you are helping to allow the other person to become self-aware as to things that might be in a better interest for them, might be in a better direction for them, but you're letting them to discover that for themselves and to feel the truth of it. So for the 54% of the population that has that open, it's white on their chart, they may be feeling this sense of just not knowing who they are, where they belong, or their purpose. And that can become a really strong, energetic drain. Now, the beauty and the wisdom of that center is you guys act as a chameleon, meaning that you are highly adaptable. You are meant to belong in many different social groups, many different environments, to change, to be fluid, to just kind of go with the flow. So you are literally taking on the characteristics of whatever group you're with. You might find yourself speaking like them, acting like them. What is happening is you guys are being a mirror for all the others in your environment. So you are reflecting back to them in that openness, how they are acting, how they are speaking, that emotional energy. You're giving them a chance to hopefully recognize and see for themselves what they are projecting out there. So important for you guys to recognize how you change when you're with different groups of individuals. Super important for you guys to be in a place that is healthy for you. And that place is everything. So this speaks to your home, to your work, to your environment. Knowing that when you're in the right place, you're going to naturally attract the right people to you. You're going to naturally attract the right love to you. You're going to get all of those experiences that energetically feel right. So again, trusting in your body, being open to just going in many different directions, not worrying about a fixed identity, but knowing that you are all sorts of different things, because you're meant to really experience the adventures in life and to just have fun with that discovery process. Now we're moving up into the throat center. That's another square on your body graph. This is the center of communication, action, and manifestation. So manifestation being the place where we put things into action, we put it into movement. Now, all the energy within your body graph is trying to come out through the throat center. So it has enormous pressure in there. As a result of that, the 71% of us that are defined, we're colored in, there's a tendency to talk way too much. And it's just that energy trying to escape itself, is trying to express who it is. It may be trying to do a lot of action. You might find yourself walking really, really fast, running around, trying to get a lot of things done when you're feeling a lot of that energy in your body. There's also that tendency in that not self stage to give that energy away at every impulse. So this can sometimes be the people pleaser. Somebody's asking you to do something and you're like, yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. You're all over the place. And or you're starting lots of different projects, but you're finishing none of them. So again, it's not to judge it, it's just to be aware that on an energetic level, this is what's happening in your body. Now, you're also going to have a very fixed way of speaking and a very fixed way of acting. So these are things about yourself that others can recognize, things that you're probably recognizing within you. It's a constant energy source for you. Now, for the rest of the population, that 29% who are open, they're white on their body graph, this is where we find the class clowns. So with all that energy trying to get out, they're just trying to attract attention. They're trying to be a star. Again, they're feeling that energy at 200%. So their little bodies, or even the adult bodies, they're just trying to get that out there. This could be the child in the classroom who's been diagnosed with ADHD. And again, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, but oftentimes if you examine their chart and they have that open center, chances are they just have so much energy, they need an outlet. This is where you can give them a piece of Velcro or something to touch, something to rub that energy off so that they have a way of getting it out of their body, of releasing without disturbing the rest of the class. It's just finding tools to work with their energy type as opposed to maybe diagnosing and putting a label on something that's not meant to be contained. It's meant to be released in a healthy, appropriate way that can be done through guidance and teaching. So in their wisdom and learning how to use that energy appropriately, they can have confidence that the right words will just come to them. They can express themselves. They don't have to plan out their words. They don't have to worry about their words. They don't have to be afraid to talk. They can just trust that when they need to say something, the right thing will come out. And they know who speaks the truth. They can hear through that vibrational tone who is correct and who is not correct to them. So they have a lot of wisdom in that throat center. Next, we're moving up to the very top of the body graph. This is the head center. This is mental pressure. It is also the area in the body graph that has the deepest conditioning. So if you think of our own circumstances, we're all raised to believe a certain way. We're all told who we should be, how we should act, who we should become. We are defined by society, by cultures, by religions, you name it. All of that conditioning gets stored up in the head and it becomes a lot of mental pressure. So again, human design is here to teach us to come out of the mental mind and to feel with the rest of the body. Now, as an energy center, there are going to be about 30% who are defined, meaning they're colored in on their chart. And those people are really here to inspire others. They're here to uplift. They're here to empower. They're here to think outside of the box, to think of new ways of doing things, of changing the status quo. They are here to place pressure on the rest of the population to think, to discover what else. So they are always thinking, and that is very natural for them. It shouldn't be an obsessive thinking where you're feeling all of that mental anxiety, but it just should be a natural awareness that I have thoughts. I constantly have thoughts coming through my mind. I'm constantly expressing thoughts, and that is just who I am. That is okay for me. But also important to be aware of how much pressure you put on all those others in your environment who are open, who are white. So for 70% of us, when you are taking in all that mental pressure, you can become really confused by all of this information. And information is coming from us everywhere. We have social media, we have the news, we have emails, we have all of these sources where we're just bombarded by that amount of information. So your head center can become so overwhelmed, it can become so lost, so confused by all of that stuff going on. So again, important to recognize you're a sponge. How to squeeze it out, how to let go what's not relevant to you, what doesn't matter to you. Important to be aware that in that energy, in that openness, these are the individuals that when somebody has a question, when somebody shares a thought, you automatically think that you have to solve that problem for them. You have to find the answer to them. You're on Google, you're trying to be the hero. Now, again, it's the energy, that pressure that's stimulating you into action. And or if somebody's lost something, you're trying to find it for them. So to be aware of the energy that's causing that can now make you take a little bit of a step back, can have you pause and consider, does that matter to me? Do I want to put my energy there and help them to find an answer? Are they even asking for an answer? Because a lot of times if you're in the environment as somebody with that defined head center, they're just expressing ideas. They're not wanting anybody else to find the answers. They're just sharing what is coming because they constantly have things coming and they're just getting it out. So allowing, again, your body to respond, your body to wait to be invited, your opportunity to inform others, but to check in with your guidance system to know if you want to do something with the energy or if you don't. Your body knows the answers, and in that openness, you know who's inspiring. You know what is right for you and what you can trust. So make sure you follow those moments of inspiration. We're now going to jump down to the center right underneath the head. This is called the ajna. This is self-reflected consciousness. You can think of that as all the gray matter within your brain. There is so much untapped potential up in that gray matter. So 51% of the population is going to have that colored in. So you might notice that you just have this natural pressure of taking in all this information, you're sorting it, you're processing through it, you're getting to your conclusion. But you're probably somebody who likes to do a lot of research. You like to put things into categories. You like to perhaps learn about history. And what you're doing is you're looking to figure out the patterns, you're looking at figuring out the ways, you're looking at figuring out other ways of doing things, reaching conclusions, looking for gaps, looking for different ways of accessing and trying new things out. Now, in a not self state, this is also where you have all of that pressure of that obsessive thinking. That is what is keeping you awake at night. That is what is keeping those stories running over and over again in your mind, not being able to let go, holding on to the past, trying to figure everything out. Again, it's trusting that, when you tune into your body, when you come back into that place of calm, trusting and releasing and squeezing out that energy that doesn't belong to you, letting go of those things that you're trying to think of that really don't matter anymore, or it's the past, it doesn't have any more relevance on who you are of today, but just relaxing and going back to trusting your body's natural way of processing, knowing that you're going to reach that conclusion in time. When it is right for you, you will have an answer, and or you will know that it's okay to not have the answer and to let it go. But relaxing out of that mental mind, trying to think it all the way through. Now, if that center is open for you, if it's white on your chart, and that's 49% of the population, we have a tendency sometimes to pretend to be smart. And I don't mean to imply that you're not highly intelligent, but what is happening is there is a fear in there of being challenged. So because you have an open head center, you're taking in a lot of information. You're picking out pieces that are relevant to you, that are of interest of you, and the rest you're kind of putting to the side. Now you have a very consistent way of organizing information for yourself and the way you handle information, but you don't have a consistent way of thinking. So we pretend to be smart because there's that fear of somebody asking you on the spot to prove yourself. And a lot of us just don't know. We know it to be right, but we can't express in that moment or prove in that moment why it is right. But I can almost guarantee that you know exactly where to find the information. You know exactly where you have placed your research, all of those tools that you have to find the answer, to come back, to share your brilliance with others. So you have to be okay with letting the other person know, I don't know in this moment, but let me get back to you. Give me some time to formulate that answer. Give me some time to respond to that email. Give yourself some grace and relaxation to not put that pressure on yourself that you have to know things like this. We are not walking encyclopedias. You are meant to just allow information to freely flow and to let it go. So knowing that hopefully is going to relax some of that energy, to relax some of that pressure that you may be putting on yourself. Now we're going down to the very last of the 9 centers. I know this is a lot of information. This is why you get a recording. You get the opportunity to just kind of absorb at your own pace. But the last one in the body graph is the root center. Now this is another pressure center, and it's in the form of stress. So if you remember that the head is a pressure center and the root is a pressure center, literally your body is in this pressure cooker. So we are feeling this energy all the time. and so essential on our overall health to know how to release it or how to maximize that energy for the greater good, for doing those things that really honor who you are. So stress can be either a positive or a negative. It is positive in the form of if it is spurring you to take action towards something of positive change, then that is a healthy way to use that energy. If it is holding on to the stress and keeping you stuck, this is where we find people that turn to addictions, overeating, smoking, alcohol, recreational drugs, sex, whatever it is. But that becomes the non-healthy form of holding on to stress for the body. So important to learn ways for yourself of how to notice when you're feeling stress and how to deal with your stress. So for 68% of the population that has that colored, there is a consistent way for you guys to naturally process through that stress, that pressure, and you guys can get an incredible amount of work done. There is so much energy in that center that you are just constantly in the state of doing and creating and handling those workloads. So what happens is sometimes you can have an expectation that everybody should be able to work to the degree that you can. And again, this is the awareness of energy. This is appreciating the other energy types and knowing that there's going to be a pocket of the population that has that center open that doesn't operate on that same level. It's the same thing with dealing with stress. You guys have a great way of dealing with the pressure. Sometimes you can be really impatient with others who aren't handling that stress. They're not doing things very well. They're very dramatic. They just feel like, oh, can you guys please get your stuff together? Now, the wisdom of that is knowing that you guys are here to guide others. The more that you are calmly dealing with your stress, the more that you are projecting into your beautiful energy, that calmness, that we're going to be fine, we're going to get through this, there's a moment, we can have a plan. The more your energy is going to help alleviate their energy field to help them naturally release some of that stress. Remember again that they are open, they are amplifying that energy back by 200%. So if you're getting irritated, if you're getting aggravated with them, that is feeding more stress into the body. So it becomes a vicious cycle of projecting out and getting back to you what you don't want. And again, that's one of the laws of the universe. That's the law of attraction, where we are magnets. Whatever we project out in our emotional energy and thoughts, we get right back to us. So the more you are calm in yourself, the more you trust in your body, the more you're going to help alleviate the energies around you. So for those that are open, it is knowing that you are feeling that stress from other people. Very important to learn to recognize, is this mine or is it somebody else's? And you're also going to be feeling really impatient. You have all of this pressure down there that you're trying to get out of your body. So these are the individuals that usually tend to drive way too fast. You're a little bit heavier on the gas pedal. You're in a hurry to get somewhere. You're wanting to just get from point A to point B, and that can feel like that irritation. So knowing again that that's the energy trying to come out of there may help you to recognize that and do other things that are healthy for you to release it. Now with that beautiful energy type, you guys normally have a very set process of wanting to complete this task and then moving on to this other task. So when other people are really putting that pressure on you to hurry up and get things done or hurry up and make a decision, that doesn't work very well for you. So understanding that your energy type needs to have a little bit more time. It needs to honor the completion of different things before moving forward. It needs to honor its ability to have time to come to a decision. Then that allows you the ability to then communicate that to other people, to not assume that others know what you're thinking, to not assume what others know what you need, but to really, again, work with the other energy types by using that energetic form of communication to express for yourself what is needed to honor you as an individual. So human design teaches us so much about energy. We can go into so much more depth with human design. It links to organs in our body. It links to different systems. There is so much to learn about your own personality, your own potential. If you want more information, you can go to my website, Loving Energy Recharge. There is a free course in there, Introduction to Human Design. There's also the full Living Your Design workshops. If you really want to dive into those nuts and bolts, there are 10-week learning opportunities to get to know yourself at that deeper level. That is that certification process. So a tool that is available for you, but lots of information. So take your time to listen through it. Take your time to absorb it. Trust in your body to guide you, to know, is this right for you? Is this something that I want to learn about? Is this something that resonates? At the end of the day, you are your own best guide. Thank you for taking the time to watch this webinar. I so appreciate you finding this video and taking the time to watch to the end.